Welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today we're going to be swapping wheels on these two BMW E30 M3s. On the right I have a silver one with gold wheels, and on the left I have a white one with gray wheels. I think the gold wheels would look better on the white, and the silver one is actually going to be painted a different color, so the gunmetal gray wheels will look better on that car. So today I'm going to be showing you how to pull them apart, swap the wheels, and put them back together. I do have a video that goes over the disassembly and reassembly process in more detail. The link to that video will be in the top right, so check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And without further ado, let's get these two cars taken apart and swap the wheels. So I'm actually going to be starting with the car I'm going to be repainting. The reason I'm doing this is because both these cars will be taken apart the same way, but since I'm trying to preserve the paint on the white one, I want to do this one first as kind of a test run because I don't really care how this one comes apart, because I will be doing some different modifications of this car. So we're just going to run this one first, make sure everything comes apart okay before I start messing with the white one. On top of all that, I believe this was a cheaper car than the white one. So as I said in the last video, I actually prefer using the soldering iron to disassemble and reassemble the cars. So I've had this heating up in the background, it's ready to go. And basically what you're going to be doing is placing them on the posts and heating the posts up. And then once the plastic around the post is warmed up enough, you should be able to pull it apart. Sometimes it is a little bit necessary to touch the plastic just a little bit. On this car, there's not a lot of room here in the back, so I'm just going to be really careful about taking them apart. So this takes about the same amount of time as if you were to drill them out. And I think it goes without saying that it does have to be a plastic bottom car. I didn't mention that earlier, but it does have to be plastic on the bottom or you won't be able to get this off using a soldering iron. So I'm going to be taking the other car apart real quick, and then we'll be going on to the wheel swap. Now I just realized if I wanted to, I could just swap the bottom of these over, move the gold wheels over to this with the bottom of the car, and then move the gray wheels over to this car and not have to actually worry about the wheels. And it's really tempting to do that, but I kinda made this video to show everyone how to remove these. So I might just remove this axle and then put it back in or something. So if you look here, you can see that there's 3 prongs holding down this axle. Now you've got a couple options. One, you can just cut that 3rd prong, pull the axle out, and then when you go to put the new one in where it's supposed to sit, and just drop a small bead of super glue, hot glue, epoxy, a little tiny bead of it, and then it won't go anywhere. If you decide to keep all the prongs, it's best not to pull on these. These axles are pretty thin and you can bend them fairly easy, so what you'll want to do is try to bend these back and try to slip the axle out. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this one. I'm going to slip the axle out, and on this back one I think I'm going to cut it and then show everyone how to put it back together with some glue. So to remove this one, I'm basically just going to pry up on this a little bit and see if we can't spread these little fingers here. Again, if you're gonna do a lot of prying or pulling, you want to do it from the middle. You don't want to grab the ends and pull up. So that came off pretty easily. These aren't as bent down as I've seen some of them before, so just watch out for that. Try not to bust these unless you're okay with gluing them back down. And obviously to reassemble these, you would slide this back in, and then again, don't push on the ends, you'll want to push on the middle. So I'm going to grab a pair of pliers too so I can squeeze in the middle of this axle. Now that we got this back together, it is a little bit loose, so I'm probably going to take the soldering iron and just push these little plastic pieces over on each other, since I'm never going to remove this again, and this will make it a little bit more permanent for me. Now this method I just used right there actually is pretty good because the axle can slide back and forth. When you go to cut this and you glue it, you want to make sure the axle is perfectly centered, because if your axle is not centered, one side of the car, the tire is going to poke out, and the other side it's going to be sucked in a little bit. So when you cut this and you glue it back together, you want to make sure that axle is completely in the middle. So I'm just going to grab these snips right here and get rid of this 3rd one. Once that 3rd post is gone, you can pop it out, and then you'll be taking your new set of wheels, sliding them back in. Then all you have to do is put a little drop of hot glue, super glue. If you use super glue, don't use a lot of it because it can actually damage the plastic. It can turn it white because there's a chemical reaction when you use super glue, or you can put a little dot of epoxy on there. Whatever you decide to do to keep this axle from moving. But that's basically the two ways I've seen it done. I've never actually seen anybody do this. I might do that in the future if I need to. But to recap, you can either pry them up, pull the axle out, put them back in, bend them back down, or you can just cut one of them and then glue it back together. Now I'm not gonna be adjusting the width of these at all because I actually like the way that they fit. They look really good on this car. Oftentimes you can get a car where the wheels are sucked in too far, and I'm actually gonna be making a video where I cut this in half and widen the axle out to match the body of the car. That's a pretty easy process too. Once you get to this point, you're ready to put the car back together. I'll show everybody how to put one of these back together with the soldering iron, and then we should be good to go. So get the car put back together, it's basically the opposite. You'll want to warm up this post again, melt the plastic as needed, and push it down. Now I'm actually going to be painting the silver one, so I'm not going to be putting it back together today because I'll have to take it apart to paint it anyways. So it will be left the way it is now, but the white one is all done and ready to go back on the shelf with the rest of the cars. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Hopefully this helped you out with your wheel swap projects. One more thing I did mention earlier, make sure that you're using the same width axles and the same size wheels. You'll want to check that before you tear your car apart and then find out later that it's not going to work. It's always a buzzkill to get halfway through your project and then find out parts don't fit. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. If you know of any other ways to remove your wheels and axles and swap them like I just did today, leave them in the comment section below. The two ways I did are probably the most commonly used, and I will continue to use my method unless I find a way that's a lot easier. And if I do find another way that's easier, I will be making another video to show everybody a different way to do this. Thanks again for watching. If you have anything you'd like to see or any other project ideas, leave them in the comment section below, and we will see everybody in the next video.